And we all went there because of the Americans on their urge, and they actually encouraged us to do that, to introduce some general approach. But the Americans all of a sudden were squeezed out of that by the Russians. The Russians were very offensive about that. And the ultimatum, that was in the pipeline with them. That was on the agenda they have. And quite frankly, they are not happy with the Turkish mediation, to tell you the truth. Why? Because here is how it happened. With the Turkish mediation, our first meeting in Istanbul was, then first they got rid of the US, and there was no representation. If you compare the level of representation that time and this time, nobody. Back then, everyone was much more constructive, and then they saw what Russians had in mind. Then Turkey gave the floor to the Russians in Istanbul. That is important. Why? I have no claims against that. I don't blame the Turkish side, but we have to understand this story. The Russians, well, were given the background information, going back to Peter the Great of theirs, well, trying to win the time, and then say, well, we have the talks, we have the exchange, all right, we've done that. The second time, the Turkish party gave the floor to us, and that was right, that was fair, and we got down to business. And then Russia brought us back into this historic background. The Russians, according to our information, are very unhappy with the Turks, the Turkish conduct in that situation, you see. That's because they feel like gods. We've had almost an hour, 3 questions, you and Bloomberg. Katerina Denisova, Kyiv independent. At which stage, President, you have talks with the U.S. for procurement of the U.S. weapon systems, and how can this mechanism become doable and workable? The agenda of our team's meeting with the U.S. team today and yesterday, for that matter, was as follows, is as follows. The mineral deal situation, this progress report, and we understand that this is a positive thing, and from the U.S. side, and there will be this meeting with the Vice Prime Minister. Sverdenko will have a meeting with the Secretary Bessent on this free trade agreement between Ukraine and the U.S. She will present all our suggestions for the mineral deal to Secretary Bessent, and for the free trade agreement as well. The second item on the agenda, there are 2 agreements as the first item, the mineral deal and the free trade. Deputy Minister Boev of Defense and Police, they will together present this agreement that I'm discussing with the Europeans for potential funding to be provided, because it's a serious one. And we'll know what we can achieve after that meeting. The 2 items. The third item is very important. It's about sanctions, because some sanctions are active, some are not active, and this should be presented to the Senate, and we should present this impact report for their proposals. And then there's another important thing, and we demonstrate the Lindsey and Graham from the Senate, the sanction package, and Ursula and the von der Leyen and the European leaders. This is a twofold package, and it's important from both sides. And, well, these are the principal things. What do you expect in this defense deal? Well, my proposal is as follows. We have the money not yet disbursed. Some remain there. We don't need, well, nothing, no additional funding needed. And that was all voted by the Congress last year. We would like to use that money, but we can demonstrate that we can do that, use that money, or have separately the defense deal, and President Trump likes deals. For us, it's a win-win situation. Possibly the important items on our defense shopping list. And the principal things, the weapon systems, the numbers. Well, I don't see, quite frankly, any big challenges in that department, because we want to get the weapons, let's say, Middle East representatives would buy, and even more buying from the U.S. arsenals and the American weapon systems. Well, it's not anything out of the usual. This is a normal thing to happen. Bloomberg, last question. Bloomberg, Saponova, Olis Saponova. Coming back to this leaders meeting without ceasefire as an option. For how long are you prepared to wait for the Russian signals that they are preparing this meeting? Are we talking weeks, a month, or whatever? And how much time, or what's the timeline and the deadline in your book, even for Donald Trump to sign off the sanction package without looking for excuses to postpone its coming into effect? The way I see it is this. I think that if there is no position on the ceasefire, no preparedness, the sanctions should be imposed. Even if they don't want, clearly don't want to finish this war. The Americans say that this is too much to ask for, and that was their language they offered. That was their message. And we say, all right, if the compromise is in no ceasefire, hence sanctions, it's clear. I'm answering your colleague's question. Are you prepared to have a meeting of leaders without any sanctions? I'm prepared to do that, but the sanctions should follow. Are we ready to meet without ceasefire? No. Yes, but no ceasefire, hence we have sanctions. And that actually reduces any positive expectations from the meeting question. So that was my proposal. Basically, it seemed to me that the Russians could demonstrate now ceasefire. We don't know how much time should elapse, but that is a window of opportunity potentially for, well, some other reasons to postpone the sanctions. Perhaps I'm trying to help all the parties involved as much as they can, but, well, there will be some logic in it. In that case, if they have no ceasefire, and no sanctions fall, there won't be any logic in this case. So I'm trying to look, in my mind, for some reasons for their format to somehow this. But for how long I am prepared to wait? I'm very patient. I'm ready to wait for as much as it takes. What else can we do? Ceasefire could have happened before the operation in question, but no operation would then have followed. That